So again, I just want to keep driving from that agenda, chunking it all out and looking at the effectiveness of each part, reflecting on what really works well in what sections, and what is it about those sections you can apply to other parts of your agendas and agenda. So the next question, or the next thing I want to do is go over the data that I collected, and I'm going to give you a copy of this data.
Okay.
One of the things what I told you, how I told you I was going to collect it is through anecdotal notes. I did that, and then I also placed a star in my notes to tally every time I observed off-task behavior. I will say that where I wasn't able to see the front of the classroom as good as I would have liked, so most of what I saw were the back two rows from left to right. So every time on those notes that you see a star is where I observed the off-task behavior, which is what we agreed upon that I would look for. So you kind of have a mixed tool there, just flat out notes and then some stars for tallying.
Okay.
From the notes, and you'll read them in great detail later, I'm sure, but one of the things I want to start with are the things that I definitely think that I definitely know are working well in your classroom, your do-agains, the things that you need to keep doing, you're doing really well. And that is the use of visuals. Your visuals were prepared, they were already up for your students. They seemed to know as they came into class that what that visual was about. They know what the structure is now as far as the visual on the board, the do now activity. I also definitely think the echoing kind of warm up where you do some calls. That's the way I noted it in my notes. So you're probably going to laugh when you read it, but you kind of made a call and they echoed you to warm their voices up. And your attention to their actual body, their posture, and those kinds of things, and they were very receptive to that part, and I think that's something I would definitely continue to do. And your whole group participated in that part. You're moving around to students. You circulate around students when you're not strapped behind the piano. You do get around to your students, and they're very much aware of your presence, because in a lot of cases they completely flip their engagement when you get near. So that circulating is something that is definitely a must-do. Keep doing that. And you do an excellent job with affirmation. Like when you call on a student, you do a real good job of giving them feedback of, just a quick thank you, that's exactly right, good job. I heard you tell Mr. Fisher that one time, and another female student in the class. More importantly, you recognize good behavior in the room, and so you just call that out and say, I really like the way the alto section is working right now. I really like the way Penny's posture is right now. I heard you do that on several occasions. And that good positive affirmation goes a long way with the class. And peer-on-peer observation, that peer pressure of, well, I want to do it right if they're doing it right. That's why it goes such a long way, because they aspire to be like each other, even though they might deny it. So keep that up. Then, if you take a look at the notes, and I'm just going to be reading from my notes, and print you out one. So the start of the lesson was the do now lesson on the left. It lasted from 12:04 to 12:19, about 25 minutes. And you indicated earlier that lasted a little bit longer than what you expected it to. During that time, I did notice quite a bit of off-task behavior, which you will see in the double stars there on your page. And because of that, it led me to think about some strategies we could use during that startup session, which we'll get to that. I noticed that students were, at the start, only about 3 of the 17 I was able to observe were actually writing in their journal from the start. And then you constantly were asking them to get on task, and which delayed your startup time a little bit. So I wanted to ask you a couple of questions in that do now section, and that is, do you have norms set up in your classroom for student behavior during different kinds of activities?